This is the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching and Hua Hu Ching. You can see the Tai Ching La La Jun holding the pearl with the black point in the center. He's holding the pearl, which represents the Tao. That would be the infinite quantum point. As I began to realize that would be in the midst of all of reality. So it would be a quantum point, which would then also be a quantum field, since the point is also a spring. The point is a well, and it is also a spring. So it's a quantum field which surpasses all other possible fields, and it would therefore encapsulate all things. It would encapsulate all this universe and any other universe or any other reality or any other plane of any kind of existence, since it is the most infinitesimal point. It would be a quantum point and a quantum field. That's what I began to realize based on the description of the Tao. It flows through all things. Here's chapter 1. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So it's the reality itself that begins to expand. Naming and describing, it comes from human thought and human consciousness, which is a byproduct of creation. So even the idea of names and description, it goes even more subtle than that. So it's just an unraveling field of energy at the point of the beginning of the universe. It doesn't name itself. We call it. Lao Tzu is calling it the Tao, because that just simply means the way everything formed, and the way all things return back to their origin. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of particular things. So things become particular. You might think of particle wave duality, particle physics. Things become particular when we describe them, when we observe them, when we name them, as an aspect of our mind and our thinking. So Lao Tzu is describing a seamless process which led up to the human mind, and the human mind is then observing and describing and trying to make things seem particular when they're actually not. This is the real reality is that seamless field of energy. The thing that we're describing is what we observe of that reality. And then he says, free from desire, you can realize the mystery. Caught up in desires, you can see only the manifestations. So when we free ourselves from that process of collapsing everything into our particulars, we can then begin to understand the mystery. We can see through all the layers of the physical solid stuff. This is very deep wisdom, quantum mechanical wisdom within the Tao Te Ching. Free from desire, so we're no longer caught up in just what our eyes want to see and what our brain wants to see, and the things that we want to perceive. Going past the layers of physical reality, you see the underlying reality, the underlying mystery, the underlying reality beneath all of that. So this really is philosophically, a form of quantum mechanics, a quantum approach to reality. Yet the mystery and the manifestations arise from the same source. So he's making it clear the the conscious brain, the observed reality, arises from the mysterious, subtle quantum reality that formed the universe. So again, that's also true of with quantum mechanics. We have a external world, and then we have the internal world of quantum mechanics. So this is an ancient, I would say, philosophical form of quantum mechanics. You describe darkness within darkness is the gateway to understanding. So darkness within darkness, going past the visible world, the visible reality, going past all the things that we see, into that underlying darkness, into that underlying field, is where we're going to find the reality, the deeper subtle reality, and the deeper subtle truth. And that's also true of quantum mechanics. So the idea of the Tao being at the very beginning, and expanding out, is I think a fact. It does seem to tie into the reality of the origin of the universe, the Big Bang, which would be, in theory, the Tao would be pushing that out like a well, like a spring, emitting all of this reality. The darkness within darkness. So the inner being of the mind, the inner being of the self, is also in this same field of darkness. My consciousness is inside of a body which is visible and tangible. So when I go within that inner mind, that inner being, and then into the inner fabric of reality, that's where you start to find the mystery. That's when you start to understand. You can start to be able to unlock the deeper truth of reality. And so we'll start with the ancient concepts of the Tao, and the ancient here, and of course we have the Bible, which is another ancient document. So what would Elohim and the Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So again, we have the idea of the Tao emitting the heavens and the earth, the universe, in this sort of well of potential, of energy. We have, in the Bible, we have Elohim, the creator of the whole universe, doing the same thing. So in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth, the universe and the planet Earth. So we have the same basic concept at work here. We would have to ask, what is the differentiation? What would be the difference? What would be the distinction between the named concept of Elohim that we call God, fundamentally, and the Tao, when what's actually tangibly happening is the same thing, right? It's the same exact thing. The same event is happening. The same events are happening, regardless of what we call it from the observer's perspective. So I call it. I say Elohim did that. The Tao, one might say the Tao caused that, or what we would call the Big Bang in modern terms. So all we're really describing is what constitutes what is that source point at the beginning that formed everything that we see and perceive. That's really the only real question. The nature of what is God? What is the nature of God? What is the nature of Elohim? And so you go to Genesis 1. You really you begin to unlock the mystery. And so at the beginning point, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. And then you have the Spirit of God, which was hovering over the waters. So you already have the idea of the Trinity: Father, Word, and Spirit. You have three concepts there: the Father, the Word, and the Spirit. But they all constitute, at that point, the invisible God. So the Word manifesting out. The Word is an expression coming out of us. So you could picture that wellspring, emitting the all of the energy that formed the universe. We could picture that like the Tao, in the nameless sense, in the nameless, mysterious form. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So you have the Spirit of God, which is we could picture an aura, wave-like energetic property of the consciousness of God. And God said, "Let there be light." So again, the energy emitting out is the light itself. That is the word manifesting of God. So it's not we're not talking about an Adam's apple, and God's not a person in that sense at this point. So again, God is speaking, "Let there be light." So what's happening is the light, the energy is emerging out of the well, out of that same wellspring at the beginning. So all the stars, all the galaxies, all the universe is emitting out, just as we would see in terms of the Tao or in terms of the Big Bang. Really no distinction. We're just simply applying the conscious layer to why it's happening, what's causing it to happen, from within that inner point, within that inner wellspring of what we might call the Tao, or the mystery, the inner darkness. What is causing it to erupt? What's pushing all that information out? And of course, that would be what we would find as the Spirit of God and Elohim, the Father, Word, and Spirit. So you have this, the Trinitarian concept there. And evening when the morning was the first day, the first eternal eon. So in God there is no time. So that first day is really all days, really all of time, all timelessness, and all creation is that light, really in reality. So you have the first day is really the encapsulation of all of creation, all of reality. And God saw that the light was good, which is the word tov or Tao, I believe. So God seeing is, again, when you're dealing with the wellspring, God seeing is when the information coming out, the energy coming out, and then being absorbed back into the very beginning. So like a loop. So that is when the desired result occurs, and then it loops back into the very beginning. You have Tao. So the very nature of Elohim is Tao, is this word good. That's the internal, that the word Tov or Tao is the internal being of God. But emitting the creation from that wellspring point, and then it absorbing back into the very beginning. So everything now a loop. Everything that ever happened returns into Tao. So it all begins in Tov and Tao as the internal being of God, and it all ends in Tao. It's you're really finding the same exact concept happening. The same thing is happening in both concepts. And then God creates the earth and all the other stuff. So it's really intriguing, and then you go into the quantum nature. So we're just simply looking at quantum mechanics, Big Bang. You can just simply look at what's happening, at the point of the Big Bang. Here's a depiction of the Big Bang. So you have this expansion of energy, what they call inflation, the first stars, galaxies, evolution of dark energy, the heavens and the earth. Again, remember, words don't matter. Concepts, those are all relative to the mind. The same thing happened. The Big Bang happened. The Tao happened. Elohim said, "Let there be light." Happened. we're describing the same events. We're describing the same things happening in the same series of events happening, regardless of how we interpret what Elohim even is. How do we describe what God is, or what Elohim is? So we're just simply the idea that the idea of consciousness is really the only the difference would be the internal consciousness of the mind of coming out, the cause or the reason of the expansion, and the instructions, which would be the word, which holds all things together. So the word would be the real distinction would be the word of God, which is the purpose behind creation. So the word is the field throughout the Big Bang, throughout the universe, that is articulating all the quantum particles or waves, quantum particles, if you will, to create planets, and so on, trees, animals, people, sky, clouds, etc. So everything is that would be the word actually moving throughout the universe to form those things from inside of the Big Bang, from inside of Elohim throughout the universe, and then moving those things into position, into place on the earth, forming the results, which would be the 7 days of creation, and the 7 days of creation in the Bible. Finally, and then the seventh day, God says it is exceedingly good, and God rests on that seventh day, meaning at that point, Tao is fully at one with the entire universe. Everything is flowing as one at that point throughout the heavens and the earth. The purpose of God and the purpose of creation are one at this time, at this point. They're together. Man and woman on the earth, and God and the universe surrounding that. And Eden is a symbol of that perfect oneness within the earth, within man and woman, and then within the universe. And then you have the snake. The serpent is introduced. The serpent introduces the knowledge of good and evil, of Tao and Ra, or error. That's where you get the division. That's where you get the brokenness that we find in the mind of mankind, in the mind of the creation. Being that Elohim is Tao, in the sense, the flow throughout the universe. Elohim is fully one with the flow throughout the universe. Man is already living in Tao. Man is already Tao. Man and woman is already living in that good, in that good, without being consciously aware of the mental concept of it. So the natural order itself is Tao, unspoken. The inner reality and the outer reality are one and the same at this point. The consciousness doesn't need to try to create good, but just simply live out the natural order in Chi, and then which is the wellspring and the river of life flowing through the human body, the natural parts of the human body. So this is ancient science. This would be an ancient form of science, an ancient understanding of creation in the natural order, which would be the purpose and flow of the human body. Adam and Eve were in a state of no religion. If you actually read the context of Genesis, there was no religion at that point. They were beings living on the earth, living out the natural order in Chi, breathing the breath of life, the air, the waters, the skies, and the animals. That's as far from religion as you can get. That is pure reality. What the knowledge of good and evil the snake taught, what introduced was religion, was absolutes, scientific absolutes, things that are the good and evil, the fractured reality, a fractured concept of reality, where people have to generate their own good in the universe rather than relying on Elohim, the creator, the source, the oneness throughout the Big Bang, through the Big Bang, and in the whole universe, which was already there and are getting crystallized. And then of course you deal with, in light of that concept of the Tao in the very beginning, You have the idea of quantum mechanics, the idea of, the energies, the subtle energies that are present at the Big Bang and throughout the universe that are directing and controlling and moving all of creation into position. You have the four forces: the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, electromagnetism, and gravity, which, as we can see, really control the nature of all of physical reality. So that's what really binds and holds together all of physical reality. So again, we're dealing with this, the fundamental, the forces, or the word of God. The word of God is what flows through the universe and directs the motion of objects into position, into their formation. The word, it says, holds all things together. So the revelation is becoming more quantum mechanical. As we approach the throne room in Revelations, you find the same exact thing. So you have the four forces here. The throne room of Revelations 4, you have, again, the throne of God emitting the energy outward through the four cherubim and the 6 wings each, the carriers, and then the 24 observers, the elders. So you have the 24 particles of supersymmetry, and I can show that. So here's the 24 particles of the supersymmetry force carriers and the Higgs boson particles. So we're looking at quantum mechanics, which is a described conscious assertion onto just the natural events that actually are happening, that actually happen. They're not computational. It's not a computer system running. We're just applying measure to it. If that makes sense, we're applying measure. We're applying these symbols aren't there, right? These numbers and symbols aren't actually there in the Big Bang itself. They're not there in the events. They're not there in the events. Are just the events. The Big Bang is just the Big Bang. It just happened. We're looking back. We're applying as Lao Tzu talks about in the Tao Te Ching. We're applying words. We're applying consciousness. We're applying. We create the particle aspect of it. We from our perspective, we give it dimension. We're creating the dimensional aspect. So being able to let that go, being able to look at it all as one series of one seamless event, is the key up until the point of observation, up until the point of the human mind. The human mind is what really is in the way of fully seeing this as one thing. These letters, these symbols, these numbers aren't there in the literal reality, just as all of the metaphorical aspects that aren't there either. Ezekiel sees a vision of the likeness of the glory of God. He sees 4 cherubim flowing out from the throne in much the same way, a lion, an ox, eagle, and a man. Symbolism is, throughout the Bible. So you can see, we could picture these in really any way as the cause of the creation of the universe, as the Word of God. And then you have Jesus goes to the throne in heaven, and you have the 7 horns and 7 eyes of the Lamb, which are the spirits of God, which sit over the throne. So the throne is the Tao. The throne would be the highest, at the point of the core, the center is the wellspring of life, and then over that is the 7 horns and 7 eyes of the Lamb. So this has been depicted for centuries as this, bizarre sort of metaphorical symbol. We have to see this as symbolism. Like, we can't, do we really think that there's a literal lamb with 7 eyes, hovering in the middle of the universe? Right? That's not what this is. This is metaphorical as well. This is symbolism, just as the numbers and symbols of quantum mechanics are symbolism. They symbolize actual, facts, actual realities. things that happen apart from the conscious assertion. So, and then the Calabi-Yau manifold would be much like that strange symbol of the 7 horns and 7 eyes of the Lamb. I start to see, you kind of see some pattern similarities in the patterns of the Calabi-Yau manifold, which would tie into the string theory and the fluctuations which shape the strings, etc. I don't fully understand all this, but the strings would then define, the vibrations would then define the outer reality, the parameters of the physical universe, and all the particles and the way they move and fluctuate. So again, that would be on top of the throne. The Tao point, the highest dimensional point, which would in theory be the 11th dimensional reality, surrounded by this shape, this point, sort of folding around and then vibrating outward, creating the phenomenon of the three-dimensional reality, space and time, the universe, the Big Bang, forming these 4 forces. This is the symbolism of revelation, unveiling through the layers of reality into the throne of God, seems very identical to the symbolism of the Calabi-Yau shape, the symbolism of quantum mechanics, of string theory, and of the Tao. Really, they really seem to all really become one. They tie in together when you really put it together. We're really describing the same pattern, the same events. The question is, how does Elohim, what is the nature of God, omnipresent and omnipotent? In other words, omni-aware, meaning absorbing all the information, and omnipotent, expressing all the information. So all the information in the universe is both being simultaneously expressed. We can that's apparent. We can see that the visible universe. It's also being absorbed into a point, absorbed into at every point into a point. So again, we have the expression, we have the manifest reality that we can see. So we already know the outward expression is there. So where is the inward expression? And I think, I suspect that would be, the dark energy and things like that, where information is being simultaneously absorbed. I believe all information is therefore seamlessly being expressed and absorbed at the same time. So we know it's expressed and contained in the universe through these forces. I believe the deeper revelation would be the absorption of all information, since Elohim is omnipresent, omnipotent. The definition is simply defining the absorption of information, the seeing, the re'eh of God, the eye of God. How does God see? How does God aware? Wherein we are aware from a focal point on the earth. We see through the eyes, we hear through the ear. We're picking up and interpreting information into a part of our brain. In this sense, the whole universe is unified with the mind of God.